Doug, what do you perceive to be the biggest challenge facing the early EISD, such as financial difficulties, extensive state assessments, loss of local control, or hiring teachers in critical need areas?
Well, I think all of those are important. I think the finances is probably going to be the driving force behind all the others that were mentioned. As you well know, the school district had to face some difficult choices in the last budget time because of what the state determined they would pay. Did a wonderful job in doing that. Stepped out and spent some money out of a fund that for rainy days most of the time, or for emergencies, and they chose to take that money out and spend it so that we could have quality teachers, so that we could provide the needs for the students that need extra care, and so could take care of some of our facilities. And I think that was a wise decision by the school board at that time. But I think addressing the budgetary needs that are coming up in the next 2 or 3 years is going to be the most important thing that the school board is going to have to focus on. Have to follow the direction of Mr. Cook as he keeps his ear to the ground and leads us in that direction. And as we look at the budget, we may have to make some hard decisions, but it will always be decisions that will be the best for the student, not necessarily what's best for anyone else. And I think that's what the board is directed to do, to take the student as a priority and make those financial decisions that will help them increase or get better in whatever they choose to do.
Thank you. Tammy?
I think, once again, the EOC is going to be one of our big issues, which is the end-of-course exam that is coming up. As most of you know, the tax test will be no longer after this year, and our children are taking the STAR test, which will then be incorporated into whether or not they graduate. It will also be incorporated into their ranking overall for their class rank. And the EOC has a very specific plan and course order that things must be taken in. So making sure that we have our children on track starting in the 8th grade rather than waiting until they get to high school. Go ahead and advancing our math department in 8th grade to include 8th grade algebra. We lose several of our students to other districts because we don't have advanced education at an earlier stage. We have these wonderful students doing wonderful things in UIL. Our robotics teams are doing very well. Our future problem-solving teams are just doing remarkable. We have a junior high student who individually is going to internationals and a high school team going to internationals. So we have great academic students, but we need to be challenging them on a higher level. Our kids are very intelligent, and I think by not having some of the advanced programs that other districts in the area have, we might be losing some of the more challenging students, the ones who are really looking for that math and science advancement and to go into the math and science technology areas. So I'd like to see us extend those programs a bit more. I'd also like to see us hire teachers that are capable of teaching the higher level courses and that have the instructional capabilities to handle students with those educational challenges. In this case, the challenges are that they are not average students and that they need to be challenged more in an academic setting. So I think really incorporating the finances around hiring those teachers is going to be one of our keys.
Thank you. David?
I agree with Tammy that we do need to incorporate some higher level education in the lower grades and keep pushing the kids learning the advanced courses and development. I also have a strong belief in the budget system has to be maintained very strong. We do need to keep working on finding ways to continue to build and continue to develop. There are some programs out there that could probably help us in stuff, as well as grants and so on and so forth. We do have to have cutbacks. We do have to have budget cuts. I don't know that there are not some other places that we may could cut some of our budget process other than just the teachers, because we've got to have the teachers. They have to teach the kids. I do believe that we need to keep focusing on the continued development of those budget items and keep developing things better.
Thank you. Pat?
Finances. this past year, we had, very often when we hear Austin talk about budget cuts, or Washington, they're talking about cuts to future spending and cuts to future growth and things like that. This past year, we absorbed a very real dollar-for-dollar budget cut from the state, about $450,000 in that neighborhood. It was mitigated to some degree because we had some additional funds that came from a held over lawsuit, the old Doggett Amendment, if you're familiar with that. But anyway, we were able to mitigate that some. This coming year, that number's going to be around $500,000. That is real dollars that are being cut, from what has been available to us in the past. I commend Mr. Cook and his team, Ms. Clark and the others, who, while we had to delay some contracts last year of some probationary people, we nevertheless were able to meet those budget constraints without losing any folks. Going forward, we very much hope to do that again, but what extra, if there ever was any, there may have been in the budget, that's not there anymore. The teachers know that. So many things we want to do to provide the excellent education for the continuing education for our teachers is becoming more and more difficult to do. But Mr. Cook and the board are going to continue to find ways to do that. We may this year, for the first time anybody knows, adopt a deficit budget. However, because of the amount of work that's gone into it until now, we have a very healthy fund balance to draw on, and while you can't do that forever, it can soften the blow. All right.
I'm sorry. I forgot to make an announcement that everybody needs to turn their cell phones off, and our host tonight forgot to do. Thank you, Rebecca. Turn your phone off, please.
Yeah, you don't need to sign if that's going to go off.
Just a 30-second one.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Okay, we're going to let Sean, we're going to finish answering this question, and then we're going to pass out a sheet of paper, and we're going to take the next question from the audience. So y'all can be thinking about if you'd like to ask the candidates
Anybody wants to ask a question?
a question. They'll hand you a piece of paper. I'm sorry, Sean?
That's okay. One of the things that I've continued to do is receive emails and letters from the Texas Association of School Board, even though I haven't been on the board for the last 3 years. I think it's very important as a community member to keep up on what's going on in Austin because it affects each and every one of us. And so there's a lot of things coming down from Washington. There's been acts, No Child Left Behind, that they're trying to reauthorize parts and portions of that. They've got some new initiative programs, the Student Success Act. There's different programs that are coming down. Some of those things they have mandates that districts are mandated to follow these rules and regulations and different things. Some of that is they're trying to give back local control to districts, which is what we need. Because if we don't have local control, we can't offer certain programs. If we don't have the funding or the ability to do that, and we don't have the assets to be able to have those programs. And I was looking, Early ISD has an approximately $9 million budget. $5.1 million of that is in instruction. So that's the majority of our budget goes to educating children. And again, there are several programs that we need to offer that we can develop in local control. Hopefully will be given back to us by the federal government so that those programs can be implemented. Again, as Pat was talking about with the tax cuts and the funding from the state, it's very difficult. And he mentioned the fact that $440,000 were cut out of the budget for the 2011-2012 school district year for Early ISD. Again, $227,000 of that, though, we received in grants, so we were able to continue. And again, as he mentioned, in 2012 to 2013, approximately $500,000 we'll have to find ways to cut. That's a lot of money when you're talking about programs and things for children. But there's creativity out there, and as a board, the 7 board members with a superintendent and the faculty and staff would be able to do that. I have all the confidence that we can do that.
Thank you. Barry?
Obviously, creativity is the key in times when you have budgetary problems. I mean, every school district in the state has been hit hard by the budget shortfall that every district has problems determining what their priorities are to meet those priorities with less money and less funds. We should obviously be thankful that our administration and the board in the past has put us in a position where we can weather some of these rainy days. You know, it's amazing to me, we have no rain physically, but the school district has faced probably some of the rainiest days in its history in the last year. And let me tell you something, it's not going to get any better. And so creativity, you know, looking under every rock for all of those grants, looking at new and inventive ways of partnering with the community as much as we can to help fill in some of the gaps in a small way. Every little bit helps. When we're talking about less funds, what we're really worried about is not just the school district getting less money. We're worried about being able to do less things for our students. And the priority has to be we're going to put students first, and we're going to make sure that those students continue to receive the excellence in education that the early ISD is obviously known for in the history that in the last several years. And so you just got to make those priorities, but the head of those priorities has to be for students, and we're going to keep students first.
Thank you. Robert?
I've spent the last 7 years on a board of directors for the gymnastics, the state of Texas USA Gymnastics, and I do completely agree that budgets, financing, making sure that you stay within a budget, that is a major priority, and I would not belittle any of that as being a big, important part of what we need to do. But speaking a little bit from just my own personal heart, I think that we all in this room, and I would commend the board that we've had in the past years and the administration that we've had, that they've done an amazing job at handling these budget cuts that have happened and been passed down from the state. I think that our school has grown, we've gotten facilities and things that show they've done such an amazing job with handling the money. So that needs to continue. But something, like I said, for me personally, we all in this room know the qualities and the strengths of early ISD, but I have been bothered by the negativity and by the perception, by the negative perception that has happened over the last couple of years. Not at the fault of any of the administration or the board, but just a negative perception that I don't believe early deserves, and I think is important right now to turn back around, where we, as a board, as administrators, as parents, put back out there to everybody that early is the place to be, and that early is the best choice for kids anywhere within the area. So that would be something that I would want to make sure is also addressed, is that we take outside of this room what we know and put it back out as early being the #1 spot for kids to be at.